We all fell for this huge lie. We believe that massive success demands massive action. Whether it's losing weight, building a business, writing a book, or winning a championship. We pressure ourselves to make some earth-shattering change, something that'll get everyone talking. We're obsessed with big moments, waiting for the perfect time to make a quantum leap, but the reality is actually the opposite. James Clear opened his eyes and ours to one simple truth. Real change doesn't come from one big explosion, but from the math of tiny miracles we often sleep on. Let's head back to 2003. Back then, the British professional cycling team was straight up pathetic. For almost 100 years, their performance was mid at best. Their reputation was so trashed that one of the top bike manufacturers in Europe literally refused to sell them bikes because they were scared it would ruin their brand if people saw British riders on them. Then came Dave Brailsford. What Brailsford did was different from any other coach. He wasn't looking for some magic secret strategy. He applied a concept he called the aggregation of marginal gains. The philosophy is simple. If you break down everything about riding a bike and then fix it by just 1%, the accumulation of those fixes will result in a massive jump. Brailsford and his crew started changing tiny things no one else even thought about. They redesigned the bike seats to be more comfortable. They rubbed alcohol on the tires for better grip. They had riders wear heated shorts to keep their muscle temp right. But they didn't stop there. They went full-on galaxy brain. Brailsford tested different pillows and mattresses to see which one gave every athlete the best sleep. They hired a surgeon to teach the athletes the cleanest way to wash their hands so they wouldn't catch the flu. They even painted the inside of the bike transport trucks bright white, just so every tiny bit of dust could be seen and cleaned, preventing that dust from getting into the precision-tuned bike engines. People clowned on these trivial things, but 5 years later the haters went silent. At the 2008 Beijing Olympics, the British team swept 60% of the available gold medals. 4 years later in London they smashed 9 Olympic records and 7 world records. From being rejected by bike brands to becoming the most dominant team in modern cycling history. What's the secret? It wasn't one giant leap, but hundreds of 1% tiny fixes. That's the core of atomic habits. We constantly underestimate the value of small daily gains. We think, running for 15 minutes today won't make me skinny. Or, writing one paragraph won't finish a book, so we quit. But look at the math. If you can get 1% better every day for a year, the calculation isn't just addition, it's compound interest. 1.01 to the power of 365 means you'll be 37 times better by the end of the year. 37 times. On the flip side, if you get 1% worse every day, being a bit lazy, cheating a bit on your diet, procrastinating a bit, in 1 year your skills will tank almost to zero. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Just like money multiplies with bank interest, the effects of your habits multiply over time. But here's the biggest trap. Why do so many people fail even after trying new routines? James Clear calls it the plateau of latent potential. Imagine an ice cube on a table in a freezing room. The room is -4 degrees Celsius. You breathe on it slowly, the temp hits -3. The ice cube just sits there, no change. Temp hits -2, still nothing. -1 degree, still frozen. At this point, you might feel hopeless. You feel like you've been working hard to raise the temp, but there's no physical proof of success. You feel like a failure. Then the temp goes up 1 more degree to 0, and the ice cube starts to melt. That 1 degree shift from -1 to 0 looks just like the changes before it, but it's the one that triggers the massive transformation. Question: was your effort raising the temp from -4 to -1 a waste? No. That effort isn't gone, it's stored. When you're struggling to build a habit and feel like nothing is happening, you're not failing. You're in the energy storing phase. You're at -1 degree, waiting for that last 1 degree to melt everything. The explosion of success outsiders see is just the moment the ice melts, but we know the real grind happened way before, while the temp was still below 0 and nobody was watching. So forget about those intimidating giant goals, focus on the system, focus on that 1% improvement today, because success isn't about a once-in-a-lifetime achievement, it's about who you are day in and day out. And to change who you are we have to go deeper, not just changing what you do, but changing how you see yourself. This is what we'll dive into next. How habits build identity. Ever wonder why it's so hard to keep up good habits? You know the formula, you know the math, you maybe even started making those 1% changes, but then you quit halfway. Your motivation evaporates, and you go back to the old, comfortable but destructive patterns. Why? Is it because you lack discipline? Is your willpower weak? James Clear says, nah, the problem isn't your willpower, it's the direction of your change. Most of us try to build habits the wrong way. We focus on what we want to achieve instead of who we want to become. We're having an identity crisis without even realizing it. Let's break down the structure of behavior change. Imagine an onion with 3 layers. The outer layer is outcomes. This is about what you get. Losing 10 kilograms, publishing a book, winning a trophy. Most of our goals live here. The middle layer is the process. This is about what you do. A new gym routine, cleaning your desk, morning meditation. This is the system. But the deepest layer, the core, is identity. This is about what you believe, your worldview, how you judge yourself and others. The fatal mistake 99% of people make is building habits from the outside in. We focus on results. We think, I want to be skinny, outcome, so I'll diet, process. We ignore the identity core. We don't change how we see ourselves. And that's the recipe for failure. Let me give you the clearest vibe check on this. Imagine 2 people trying to quit smoking. Someone offers them a cig. The first person says, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. Sounds legit, right? But wait. This answer implies they still see themselves as a smoker who is struggling to do something against their nature. They're a smoker holding themselves back. As long as their identity is smoker, that cigarette will always be tempting. Now look at the second person. When offered, they say, no thanks, I'm not a smoker. The difference is tiny, but the impact is huge. Smoking is part of their past, not their present. They don't have to hold back because a non-smoker simply doesn't smoke. Period. No internal conflict. This is the most important law in behavioral psychology. You can't act against your own self-image for a long time. If you see yourself as someone who sucks at math, you'll give up when the homework gets hard. If you see yourself as a messy person, then cleaning your room is just a temporary thing. As soon as you're tired, it'll be a mess again. Why? Because your subconscious is saying, well, it makes sense, it's messy, I'm a messy person. Behaviors that don't align with your identity won't last. You might force yourself to the gym for a week or 2, but if your identity is lazy person, you'll get pulled back to the couch like gravity. So the goal isn't to read a book, the goal is to become a reader. The goal isn't to run a marathon, the goal is to become a runner. The goal isn't to learn an instrument, the goal is to become a musician. A habit isn't just a way to get success, it's a way to become yourself. So how do you change your identity? You can't just hex your brain and say, I'm successful in the mirror, if there's no proof. Your brain needs receipts. This is James Clear's brilliant concept. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to be. No single event will change your beliefs, but as the votes pile up, so does the proof of your new identity. Every time you write a page, you're casting a vote for I am a writer. Every time you make your bed, you're voting for I am an organized person. Every time you resist fried food, you're voting for I am a healthy person. You don't need a unanimous win. You don't need to be 100% perfect. In an election, you just need the majority of votes to win. So don't sweat it if you fail once in a while or relapse. As long as the majority of your actions support the new identity, you're winning. This mindset shift changes everything. Our focus is no longer chasing instant results, but proving to ourselves bit by bit, day by day, that we are the person we dream of being. Once we know who we're aiming for, then we can talk about how to make it easy, how to manipulate our brains so these good habits feel automatic. For that, we need to break down the blueprint of the human brain. We're going into the 4 laws of behavior change. Now we know who we're aiming for, we have the new identity we want to win, but intention isn't enough. You can't fight human biology with just grind-set vibes. Humans are driven by signals. Our brains are pattern-seeking machines that never sleep. In this part, we're going to stop being victims of our environment and start being the architects of our lives. We're going to use James Clear's first 2 laws to manipulate, or more politely, hack, our brain's OS so good habits happen with almost 0 effort. The first law of behavior change is, make it obvious. The biggest problem for most people isn't a lack of motivation, but a lack of clarity. We often say, I want to be healthier. That's not a plan, that's a wish. It's like saying, I want to go somewhere, without looking at a map. Our brains need specific instructions. If the instructions are blurry, the brain will choose the default, doing nothing. To fight this, James Clear gives a power formula called implementation intention. Research shows people who use this are 2 to 3 times more likely to succeed. The formula is simple. I will, behavior at time in location. Don't say I'll run next week. Say, I will run for 20 minutes at 6 a.m. at the local park. Don't say I'll cut back on sugar. Say, I will swap my soda for water at lunch in the office cafeteria. By giving a specific time and place, you kill the hesitation. You don't have to wake up and think, should I run or sleep in? The decision was already made. No debate, just execution. But what if you can't find the time? Use the next strategy, habit stacking. One of the best ways to build a new habit is to identify an old one you already do every day without thinking, like brushing your teeth, brewing coffee, or opening the blinds, and then stack the new habit on top. The formula: after, current habit, I will, new habit. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. After I take off my work shoes, I'll immediately change into gym clothes. After I sit down for dinner, I'll say one thing I'm grateful for today. The key is using momentum. Your brain already has strong neural pathways for the old habit, so by attaching the new one, you're hitching a ride on an existing highway in your brain. But the most underrated strategy in the first law is environment design. Stop relying on self-control. People who look disciplined aren't actually better at resisting temptation. They're just better at designing their environment so they rarely have to use willpower. If you want to play guitar, don't keep it in the case in a closet in the guest room. Put it in the middle of the living room where you always see it. If you want to drink more water, put a water bottle on every table in the house. The principle: if you want a habit to be part of your life, make the cues visible everywhere. Make the good habit impossible to ignore. Now let's hit the second law. Make it attractive. The first law makes you remember to do it. The second law makes you want to do it. This is where we play with the most powerful chemical in the brain, dopamine. We totally misunderstand dopamine. We think it only shows up when we get a reward. Wrong. Dopamine actually spikes highest when we anticipate that reward. That anticipation is what makes us move. The wanting is stronger than the liking. If a good habit feels boring, like running on a treadmill or doing a report, the brain won't release dopamine, so you feel lazy. The solution: temptation bundling. Temptation bundling is a strategy where you link something you have to do with something you want to do. There's a cool example of an engineering student in Ireland who loved Netflix but knew he had to exercise. So he hacked an exercise bike and hooked it to his laptop. He wrote a program where Netflix would only play if he biked above a certain speed. If he slowed down, Netflix cut out. He bundled the temptation of movies with the chore of exercise. You don't have to be an engineer to do this. The rules: only listen to your favorite podcast while doing dishes or folding laundry. Only check Instagram after writing 3 paragraphs. Only go to that expensive coffee shop if it's to finish that pending work. This way, you train your brain to look forward to the hard work because it's the only bridge to the thing you love. So here's the basic blueprint. Make the path clear, law 1, and make the goal tempting, law 2. Change your environment so it supports you instead of fighting you. But starting is only half the battle. The real challenge is making it easy when you feel lazy and making sure you keep it up long term. The answer is in laws 3 and 4, the art of making everything easy. Let's be real for a sec, humans are naturally lazy. No offense, it's not a character flaw, it's a biological law. It's called the law of least effort. For thousands of years, our ancestors survived by saving energy. If there are 2 ways to get food, our brains automatically pick the shortest and easiest path. We are hardwired to avoid difficulty. Lots of people fail at habits because they try to fight this natural law. They pick hard habits and hope their hustle will get them through. That's a losing battle. James Clear teaches us a smarter move. Don't fight your laziness, embrace it. Use it. This is the third law. Make it easy. The secret is in the word friction. Friction is any obstacle standing between you and the behavior you want to do. The more friction, the less likely you'll do it. Why do we scroll social media more than we study a new language? Because scrolling is zero friction. Just grab the phone and swipe. Done. But studying a language, you gotta find the book, open the app, think, concentrate. Too much friction. Your job as a habit architect is to flip the script. Reduce friction for good habits and add friction for bad ones. Want to run in the morning? Don't wait until tomorrow to find your socks. Lay out your shoes, clothes, and water bottle right by the bed tonight. When you wake up, you literally trip over your gear. Want to eat healthy? Chop fruit over the weekend and put it in clear containers at the very front of the fridge. Make the healthy option the easiest option. Make the good habit the path of least resistance. But even when things are ready, sometimes starting still feels heavy. A 5 kilometers run sounds terrifying to a lazy brain. This is where James Clear's secret weapon comes in. The 2-minute rule. The rule is absolute. A new habit should take less than 2 minutes to do. Scale down your ambition until it's ridiculous. Reading 1 book a week becomes reading 1 page. Running a marathon becomes putting on your running shoes. Learning to code becomes writing 1 line of code. You might think, what's the point of just putting on shoes? That won't get me fit. But you're missing the point. The point is mastering the art of showing up. A habit has to be established before it can be improved. You can't optimize a habit that doesn't exist. Build the foundation. Become the person who puts on running shoes every morning. Even if you don't end up running, that's still an identity win. Once you start, keep going is way easier. Now for the last piece of the puzzle, the 4th law, make it satisfying. Laws 1, 2, and 3 are about how to start a behavior. Law 4 is about how to repeat it next time. Our brains have a simple rule. What is rewarded is repeated. What is punished is avoided. Problem is, evolution didn't prep us for the modern world. We live in a delayed return environment. We hit the gym today, but we don't look shredded tonight. We save money today, but we aren't rich tomorrow. The reward is delayed, but the sacrifice feels real right now. On the other hand, bad habits give instant satisfaction. Smoking, eating sugar, procrastinating, they all feel good now but ruin you later. To hack this, we have to inject a little instant satisfaction into our good habits. We need to feel successful right away. One of the best ways to do this is with a habit tracker. It can be as simple as crossing off a date on a wall calendar with a red marker, or moving a marble from a to-do jar to a done jar. There's deep visual satisfaction in seeing a long row of red X's. You aren't just working out to be healthy in the future anymore. You're working out to get that X today. That X is your dopamine. It's visual proof that you are the type of person who is consistent. The mantra you gotta hold on to is, don't break the chain. Don't look at your body in the mirror yet, just look at the calendar. Keep that chain linked. And if you're forced to break the chain one day because you're sick or busy, the rule is, never miss twice. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new, bad habit. Get back on track, ASAP. With these 4 laws, we've built a fail-proof system. We made it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. But there's one last threat. A threat that shows up right when you're getting good, when the habit is automatic. That threat isn't difficulty, it's boredom. What separates an amateur from a pro when the fun part is gone? We've learned how to build an automatic success machine, but what if the machine is heading the wrong way? What about bad habits that are already deep-fried into your life? Smoking, overspending, social media addiction, procrastinating. To kill these monsters, we don't need a new strategy. We just need to flip the one we have. Use inversion. If building a good habit means making it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying, then killing a bad habit means doing the opposite. First, make it invisible. Delete the apps from your phone. Move that cookie jar off the table and put it on the top shelf in the pantry. If you don't see it, the craving won't hit. Don't test your willpower. Remove the cue. Second, make it unattractive. This is mental warfare. Reframe your mindset. Stop thinking, I'm sacrificing by not smoking, and start thinking, I'm saving myself from a poison that makes me poor and sick. Change the narrative. Third, make it hard. Crank up the friction until it's ridiculous. Want to stop binge watching TV? Unplug it every time you're done. and put the remote in another room. Make sure you have to work hard just to do the bad habit. Fourth, make it unsatisfying. Find an accountability partner and make a contract. If I miss another day, I have to pay this friend $500. The pain of losing money will beat the pleasure of being lazy. But let's say you succeed. You've dumped the bad and built the good. You're practicing regularly. Now comes the new challenge. How do you keep the motivation fire burning forever? The human brain loves a challenge, but only a specific kind. If you play tennis against a toddler, you'll get bored because it's too easy. If you play against Roger Federer, you'll give up because it's too hard. You'll quit in both scenarios. Humans hit peak motivation when working on tasks that are right on the edge of their current ability. Not too hard, not too easy, just challenging enough. This is the Goldilocks rule. To keep a habit interesting long-term, you have to level up the standards bit by bit. Once you can run 5 kilometers easily, it gets boring. You gotta bump it to 6 kilometers or run faster. You have to stay in that manageable challenge zone. And now we get to the harshest truth. Many people think the biggest enemy of success is failure. James Clear warns us. No, the biggest enemy of success is boredom. At first, a new habit is hype. You're excited for the gym, you're stoked to write the first page. But over time, the novelty fades. The practice becomes repetitive. The routine becomes routine, boring. This is where most people quit. They are novelty seekers. As soon as the fun is gone, they jump to a new diet, a new business, a new hobby. They never become masters. They're just tourists in their own lives. This is what separates an amateur from a real pro. The best athletes in the world feel the same boredom you do. They're tired of lifting the same weights thousands of times. They're sick of doing the same ball drills every day. But the difference is, the champion keeps doing it even when it's boring. Pros act on schedule. Amateurs let their actions be dictated by their feelings. The only way to be legendary is to fall in love with the boredom. You have to fall in love with the repetition. You have to find joy in the monotonous stuff. But watch out. There's a dark side to mastering a habit. Once you can do something automatically, you stop thinking about how to do it better. You go into autopilot. I've been driving for 10 years, I'm definitely a pro. Not necessarily. You could just be repeating the same mistakes for 10 years. Habits create the foundation, but the foundation isn't the house. The formula is, habits plus deliberate practice equals mastery. Don't let habits make you dull. Keep evaluating, keep reflecting. To wrap up our deep dive into atomic habits, remember this one thing. There is no finish line. People always ask, how long does it take to form a new habit? 21 days? 66 days? The honest answer is forever, because once you stop doing it, it's not a habit anymore. Atomic habits isn't about hitting one goal and quitting. It's not a 30-day diet, it's not a 1-month running challenge, it's about building a life system. Self-improvement isn't a destination, it's an endless process. We aren't looking for a moment of perfection, we're looking for continuous refinement. Success isn't something you achieve and then own forever. Success is something you rent, and the rent is due every single day. Start small, build your identity, and never break the chain, because tiny changes can make a mind-blowing difference.